Imagine the sound that should never exist in a boxing arena. Not the sharp crack of leather meeting flesh, not the thunderous roar of a crowd, and not even the dull thud of a body hitting canvas, but the sound of absolute silence, the kind of silence that follows the impossible, the kind that makes 300 witnesses question everything they thought they knew about power, about physics, about the limits of human capability. The date was February 12th, 1972. The location, downtown sports arena, Los Angeles. The air inside was thick with disbelief and something else, something that would haunt every person present for the rest of their lives. And at the center of it all, in a professional boxing ring, under blazing arena lights, lay our dagger, a simple white towel that would become the most important piece of fabric in combat sports history. You probably think you know how this story ends. The greatest heavyweight boxer who ever lived, Muhammad Ali, 6 feet 3 inches of sculpted perfection, 210 pounds of lightning-fast reflexes, standing defenseless before a 135-pound martial artist from Hong Kong. Logic tells you there's only one possible outcome. Physics demands it. Every law of combat sports confirms it. You're about to discover how magnificently wrong logic can be. But to understand the magnitude of what happened in those 13 seconds, you need to know where this impossible challenge began. 3 weeks earlier, at a party in the Hollywood Hills, where egos collide like tectonic plates and legends are born from the friction. Beverly Hills, January 22nd, 1972. The mansion belongs to a film producer whose name appears on movie posters, but tonight he's just the host of the party everyone in Hollywood wants to attend. The air smells of expensive cigars and even more expensive perfume, mixed with that particular scent of ambition that hangs over every gathering of the powerful. Muhammad Ali stands in the center of the main room, naturally, because that's where Muhammad Ali always stands. He's wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that costs more than most people make in a year, but even in civilian clothes, there's no hiding what he is. His shoulders stretch the fabric like architecture, trying to contain an earthquake. His hands, even relaxed at his sides, look like they could reshape reality with a single gesture. He's holding court, as he always does, surrounded by a constellation of Hollywood stars who orbit around his charisma like planets around the sun. Warren Beatty leans against a marble fireplace, nursing a whiskey and hanging on every word. Faye Dunaway sits perched on the arm of a leather chair, her famous smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Even Steve McQueen, who usually avoids these kinds of gatherings, stands off to the side, watching with the careful attention of one predator studying another. The conversation flows like expensive wine, smooth, intoxicating, and occasionally revealing truths people didn't mean to share. Someone mentions the growing popularity of martial arts films. Someone else brings up the recent demonstrations by Chinese masters that have been making headlines in the sports pages. The topic drifts, as Hollywood conversations do, toward the exotic, the foreign, the mysteriously Eastern. That's when someone history will never record exactly who mentions Bruce Lee. That Chinese guy, the voice says, cutting through the ambient chatter like a blade through silk. The one who claims martial arts can beat boxing. The room doesn't exactly go quiet, but something shifts. The quality of attention changes. Everyone knows who Muhammad Ali is, what he represents, what he's capable of. The suggestion that someone, anyone, might claim superiority over boxing, over Ali, is the kind of statement that demands response. Ali sets down his drink, scotch on the rocks, served in crystal that catches the light like liquid amber, and his famous smile spreads across his face. Not the media smile, not the promotional grin that sells fight tickets. This is something else. This is the smile of a predator who's just been told there might be bigger prey in the jungle. Bring him to me, Ali says, his voice carrying that distinctive rhythm that made him as famous for his words as for his fists. The room falls silent now. Complete, total silence. Let him hit me. Let me see this kung fu magic everyone's talking about. He spreads his arms wide, a gesture that somehow makes him look even larger than his already imposing frame. I will stand still. I will not block. I will not move. Just let him hit me with his best shot. Then we'll know if kung fu is real or just dancing. Warren Beatty straightens up from the fireplace. Ali, you're not serious. I'm dead serious. Ali's voice has that edge now, the one that appears when the showman steps aside and the fighter emerges. I've been hit by George Foreman. I've been hit by Joe Frazier. I've been hit by Sonny Liston. Let's see what this little guy can do. Steve McQueen pushes off from the wall, his interest clearly piqued. You really want to do this? Set it up, Ali says simply. Private. Just witnesses. People who can verify what happens. Let's settle this question, once and for all. What Ali doesn't know, what no one in that room knows, is that across town, in a small school in Chinatown, Bruce Lee is ending his evening training session. As he bows to his wooden dummy, as he hangs up his training gear, as he wipes the sweat from his brow with that same white towel that will soon become legend, he has no idea that his destiny has just been sealed by a casual conversation at a Hollywood party. But destiny has a way of finding those who are ready for it. Bruce Lee hears about the challenge the next morning. He's in his kitchen, reading the newspaper, while Linda prepares breakfast for their children. The house smells like coffee and the jasmine rice. Linda learned to cook perfectly during their early years of marriage. Brandon, 8 years old, practices his forms in the living room, his small body mimicking movements. He's watched his father perform 1,000 times. Shannon, 3, plays with wooden blocks on the floor, building towers that she knocks down with delighted laughter. It's domestic, peaceful, normal, the kind of morning that makes legends seem like distant things that happen to other people. The phone rings. Bruce answers on the third ring, his voice still carrying the slight hoarseness of morning. Bruce, it's Dan. Dan Inosanto, his student, his friend, his training partner for the last 5 years. But today, Dan's voice carries something different. Urgency, excitement, maybe a little fear. You need to see today's sports section. Bruce finds the page Dan is referring to. The headline makes him set down his coffee cup with unusual care. Ellie calls out kung fu. Let him hit me. I won't move. He reads the article in silence. Every word, every quote, every detail of the challenge that was thrown down like a gauntlet in front of Hollywood's elite. When he finishes, he folds the newspaper with the same precision he applies to everything in his life. Dad, Brandon has stopped practicing and is watching his father with the intuitive awareness children have. For when the adult world intrudes on their safe space, it's okay, son, Bruce says quietly. Just some business I need to handle. But Linda knows her husband better than anyone. She sees the way his shoulders set, the way his breathing changes, the way his eyes focus on something beyond the visible horizon. She's seen this before, in the moments before he makes decisions that change their lives. You're going to accept, she says. Not a question, a statement of fact. Bruce looks at her, and for a moment, the mask slips. The confident teacher, the assured master, the man who has built his reputation on the certainty of his knowledge. For just a moment, all of that falls away, and Linda sees the young man she married, the one who still sometimes wonders if he's truly ready for whatever the world throws at him next. I have to, he says simply. No, you don't. Her voice is gentle but firm. You don't have to prove anything to Muhammad Ali or anyone else. You know who you are. I know who you are. That's enough. Bruce walks to the window, looking out at the small garden where he sometimes practices his morning meditation. The early sun filters through the leaves of their single orange tree, creating patterns of light and shadow that dance with each breath of wind. It's not about proving anything, he says finally. It's about truth. Ali believes size and power are everything. That boxing is the ultimate test of fighting skill. If I walk away from this, if I let his challenge go unanswered, then I'm saying he's right. I'm saying that everything I teach, everything I've learned, everything I've built my life on, it's all just philosophy with no substance. He turns back to Linda. And now the uncertainty is gone. The decision has been made, not with arrogance or anger, but with the calm certainty of water finding its path downhill. I'm not fighting Muhammad Ali to prove I'm better than him, Bruce continues. I'm accepting his challenge to prove that there are different kinds of strength, different kinds of power, and sometimes the smallest force applied at exactly the right place and time can move mountains. Linda nods slowly. She's known this man for 8 years, has seen him face down traditional masters who wanted to preserve their secrets, Hollywood executives who wanted to typecast him into invisibility, and his own doubts about whether his revolutionary approach to martial arts would ever be accepted. She's never seen him back down from a truth he believed in. When? She asks. Saturday night. Private venue. Just witnesses. I want to be there. Bruce shakes his head immediately. No. This isn't about family. This isn't about our life together. This is about two warriors testing their understanding of combat. You don't need to see that, Bruce. No. His voice carries the quiet authority that ends discussions. Some things a man must do alone. The call to Ali's people happens that afternoon. The conversation is brief, professional, almost military in its precision. Terms are agreed upon. Location confirmed. Witnesses selected. The date is set, February 12th, 1972. Saturday evening, 8:30 p.m. Downtown Sports Arena. One challenge, one moment, one truth that will change how both men understand the limits of human capability. Neither of them sleeps well in the nights leading up to that date. Saturday arrives with the weight of inevitability. The downtown sports arena, normally home to professional boxing matches and wrestling events, has been closed to the public for the evening. No tickets were sold, no concessions are open, no ushers guide spectators to their seats. Instead, 300 carefully selected witnesses file through the employee entrance, boxing trainers who have worked with champions, martial arts masters who have dedicated their lives to understanding combat, sports journalists who have covered every major fight for decades, Hollywood producers who know the difference between choreography and reality, and scattered among them, ordinary people who somehow manage to be in the right place at the right time to witness history. The arena feels different without its usual crowd. Larger somehow, more intimidating. The silence amplifies every footstep, every whispered conversation, every nervous cough. The overhead lights create harsh pools of illumination that leave the upper reaches of the building in shadow, as if the darkness itself is leaning in to watch what's about to unfold. In the center of it all sits the boxing ring, 20 feet square, bounded by red ropes that have absorbed the sweat and blood of countless fighters. The canvas is pristine white, unmarked by the violence it will soon witness. Our dagger, that simple white towel, rests folded on the corner post, waiting for its moment to become legend. Muhammad Ali arrives at 8:15, accompanied by his usual entourage. His trainer, Angelo Dundee, walks beside him with the careful attention of a man who has seen his fighter through dangerous waters before. His manager handles the logistics, speaking in low tones with arena security. His doctor carries a medical bag that everyone hopes won't be needed. But it's Ali himself who commands attention. He's wearing simple boxing trunks, white with red trim, and red leather gloves that have been broken in by thousands of hours of training. His upper body is bare, revealing the physical perfection that has made him the most recognizable athlete in the world. Every muscle is defined but not overdeveloped, functional rather than decorative. He moves with the fluid grace of a big cat, each step economical and purposeful. As he climbs through the ropes into the ring, the witnesses fall silent. This is Muhammad Ali in his natural environment. This is the man who has beaten every challenger, who has defended his title against the strongest, toughest, most dangerous fighters on the planet. In this ring, under these lights, surrounded by the tools of his trade, he seems less like a man than like a force of nature given human form. He begins his warm-up ritual, the same routine he's performed before every fight of his professional career. Light bouncing on the balls of his feet, shadow boxing against invisible opponents, rolling his shoulders to loosen muscles that have absorbed punishment from the hardest hitters in boxing and kept functioning. The crowd watches in fascination and growing unease. They're seeing something that shouldn't exist. Muhammad Ali preparing for a fight against an opponent who weighs 75 pounds less than him. It's like watching a hawk prepare to hunt a sparrow, except the sparrow has somehow convinced the hawk to close its eyes during the strike. At 8:25, Bruce Lee enters the arena. He comes alone. No entourage, no trainer, no manager. Just a single man, walking through the employee entrance with the quiet confidence of someone who has done this calculation 1,000 times in his mind and arrived at the same answer every time. He's wearing simple black pants and a black sleeveless shirt. His feet are bare, no protective gear, no gloves, no equipment of any kind, except for a small white towel draped over his left shoulder, the same towel that will soon rewrite the laws of physics. The contrast with Ali's entrance is stark. Where Ali commanded attention through presence and charisma, Bruce demands focus through stillness. Where Ali filled the space with energy and movement, Bruce seems to compress reality around himself, creating a zone of calm in the chaos of anticipation. He walks to the ring slowly, but it's not the slowness of hesitation. It's the deliberate pace of water flowing downhill, unhurried, but absolutely certain of its destination. As he approaches the ring, conversations die, whispers fade. Even the ambient sounds of a building settling and air system cycling seem to pause. Bruce stops at the base of the ring steps. For a moment, he simply looks up at Muhammad Ali, who has ceased his warm-up and is now standing in the center of the canvas, hands on his hips, studying this small man who has accepted an impossible challenge. The two warriors look at each other across the distance of a few feet, and the gulf of two completely different approaches to combat. Ali, who has built his reputation on speed, power, and the ability to absorb punishment while delivering devastation. Bruce, who has spent his life learning to use minimum force for maximum effect, to redirect rather than resist, to be water that finds the cracks in the strongest foundation. Neither man speaks. There's nothing to say. The challenge has been issued and accepted. The terms are clear. The only remaining question is one that can only be answered through action. Bruce climbs into the ring. The referee for this impossible event is a professional boxing official who has overseen championship fights, who understands the rules and traditions of the sport, but who now finds himself in territory no rulebook has ever mapped. His name is Tommy Morrison, not the future heavyweight champion, but an older man who has refereed matches since the 1950s and has never encountered anything like what he's about to witness. He calls both men to the center of the ring for the traditional pre-fight instructions, but the words feel hollow, almost ridiculous. How do you referee a fight where one participant has agreed not to defend himself? How do you ensure fair play when fairness itself seems to have been suspended? Gentlemen, Morrison begins, his voice uncertain despite decades of experience. Mr. Ali, you're sure you want to do this? No defense? Ali nods, his famous grin in full display. I'm sure. Let him hit me. Let's see what happens. Morrison turns to Bruce. Mr. Lee, you understand the terms. One strike to the head or body. Mr. Ali will not block or evade. After your strike, this demonstration is over. Bruce nods once. A movement so minimal, it barely qualifies as acknowledgement. His eyes never leave Ali's face, reading micro-expressions, evaluating breath patterns, studying the subtle tells that reveal a fighter's true state of mind. Morrison steps back, his responsibility discharged, but his unease growing. He's about to oversee something that violates every principle of the sport he loves. Boxing is about two fighters testing their skills against each other in fair combat. This is something else entirely. This is mythology attempting to manifest in reality. Ali spreads his arms wide, drops his guard completely. His gloves hang at his sides, useless. His chin is exposed. His entire body is open, vulnerable, offering itself as a target to a martial artist whose reputation is built on his ability to strike with inhuman precision and power. The arena falls into that state our witnesses will later describe as visual silence. A hush so complete, it seems to absorb not just sound, but light, motion, even thought itself. 300 people hold their breath simultaneously, creating a vacuum of anticipation that makes the air itself feel heavy. Bruce stands 3 feet in front of Ali. His hands remain at his sides. No fighting stance, no obvious preparation. He simply stands, breathing, waiting. To the witnesses, he looks completely unprepared, almost vulnerable. How can a man generate fight-ending power from a standing start, with no wind-up, no obvious source of force? But those who know Bruce, who have trained with him, who understand the principles he has spent his life mastering, see something different. They see perfect alignment, complete relaxation, the stillness that precedes the storm. For 5 seconds, nothing happens. The crowd starts to shift uncomfortably. Is Bruce afraid? Is he reconsidering? Did he realize this is a mistake? Then Ali says something that changes everything. Come on, little man, his voice carrying clearly through the silent arena. Show me your best shot. I've been hit by the hardest punchers in the world. Let's see what you've got. It's not meant as disrespect. It's Ali being Ali, the showman, the entertainer, the man who has never met a moment he couldn't turn into theater. But the words land on Bruce's consciousness like a stone dropped into still water, and the ripples of that impact spread through his entire being. Not because he's offended, not because his pride is wounded, but because Ali's words reveal something fundamental about how the boxing world understands power. To them, striking is about mass times velocity. Force equals weight times acceleration. The harder you can hit, the better fighter you are. Bruce sees it differently. To him, striking is about finding the weakness in the opponent's structure and delivering force to that exact point, at the exact moment when resistance is impossible. It's not about hitting hard. It's about hitting precisely. And Ali, standing there with his arms spread wide, his guard dropped, his entire body exposed, has just given Bruce a target that makes precision irrelevant. He's removed every variable except pure technique. Bruce's breathing changes. Deeper, slower, his consciousness narrows to a single point of focus. The spot just below Ali's sternum, where the solar plexus nestles like a hidden target behind the protective cage of his ribs. The witnesses will later say they felt the energy in the room shift, like the moment before lightning strikes when every hair on your body stands on end, and the air itself seems to vibrate with potential. Bruce takes one small step forward. Now he's 2 feet from Ali, close enough to reach, close enough to touch. close enough to deliver the strike that will rewrite everything anyone thinks they know about the relationship between size and power. His right hand begins to move. What happens next defies the laws of physics, as everyone in that arena understands them. Bruce's hand doesn't wind up, doesn't chamber, doesn't telegraph its intention through any of the usual preparatory movements that signal an incoming strike. It simply moves, a flicker of motion so fast that most of the witnesses will later claim they never saw it at all. The distance from Bruce's side to Ali's solar plexus is perhaps 18 inches. In normal circumstances, even a fast punch covers that distance in fractions of a second. But this isn't a normal punch. This is something that exists outside the conventional understanding of striking. Bruce's entire body becomes a mechanism for transferring energy from the ground up through his legs, torso, and arm into a single point of contact, no larger than his knuckles. Every principle he has spent 20 years mastering, economy of motion, perfect timing, structural alignment, condenses into this one moment. His fist makes contact with Ali's body, just below the sternum, with a sound like a drumstick striking a timpani, sharp, precise, final. The effect is instantaneous and total. Muhammad Ali's body reacts in a way that no boxing crowd has ever seen. There's no backward stumble, no theatrical fall, no windmilling of arms to maintain balance. Instead, Ali's nervous system simply shuts down. The strike has found the cluster of nerves that control his diaphragm, and his brain's ability to manage basic respiratory function disappears. His knees buckle first. Then his legs give way completely. His arms, which were spread wide in confident challenge, drop to his sides as if the strings controlling them have been cut. His mouth opens in a desperate attempt to draw breath that won't come. Muhammad Ali, the man who has absorbed punishment from George Foreman's sledgehammer fists, who has weathered Joe Frazier's hooks, who has survived Sonny Liston's sledgehammer blows, sinks to his knees on the white canvas like a building collapsing in slow motion. The white towel, our dagger, slips from the corner post where it had been waiting and flutters to the canvas beside him, as if even inanimate objects are responding to the impossibility of what just occurred. The arena doesn't erupt in chaos. It doesn't explode with sound. Instead, it achieves something even more profound: absolute, total, crushing silence. 300 witnesses frozen in a moment that their minds cannot process, trying to reconcile the image of the greatest heavyweight boxer in history on his knees, defeated by a single strike from a man who weighs less than his left leg. Seconds pass. Ali remains on his knees, his hands pressed against the canvas, his head down, fighting to force his paralyzed diaphragm to function. His face has gone pale beneath his dark skin, not from pain, but from the desperate need for oxygen that his body is struggling to provide. Bruce Lee stands above him, not celebrating, not gloating, not claiming victory. His expression is unchanged, calm, focused, waiting. His hand has returned to his side. The strike that just redefined the possible is over, and he has already moved on to whatever comes next. 5 seconds. 10. Ali's breathing begins to return in ragged gasps. His nervous system starts to reset. His body remembers how to function. He lifts his head, looks up at Bruce, with eyes that hold something that has never been there before: confusion mixed with something approaching awe. Referee Morrison rushes over, dropping to his knees beside Ali. "Champion, are you all right? Can you breathe?" Ali nods weakly, but doesn't try to speak. His vocal cords, like everything else in his upper body, are still recovering from the neurological overload that Bruce's strike delivered. Bruce extends his hand. Ali stares at it for a long moment, and the witnesses can see him processing not just what happened to his body, but what it means. For the first time in his professional career, Muhammad Ali has been completely, undeniably, utterly dominated by an opponent, not through luck, not through a fortunate combination of circumstances, but through pure technique applied with surgical precision. He takes Bruce's hand. Bruce helps pull him to his feet. Ali stands unsteadily, shaking his head as if trying to clear fog from his brain. When he looks at Bruce again, his famous grin is gone, replaced by something deeper and more honest. "What did you do?" His voice is hoarse, barely audible. Bruce's response is quiet, meant for Ali alone, but the acoustics of the empty arena carry his words to every witness. "I showed you what you asked to see." Martial arts isn't about power. It's about precision, about understanding the body, about striking not where you see strength, but where you find weakness. Ali takes a deep breath, testing his restored respiratory function. "Nobody's going to believe this happened." Bruce nods. "I know, but you'll know, and that's enough." What happens next becomes part of boxing folklore. Ali extends his gloved hand. Bruce shakes it. Then Ali does something that no one expects. He raises Bruce's hand in the air, the traditional gesture of a champion acknowledging a superior warrior. The crowd finally breaks its silence, not with cheers or boos, but with a sound that's part gasp, part whisper, part prayer. The sound of 300 people trying to process the impossible. Arguments break out immediately. Some people claiming they saw everything clearly, others insisting they missed the crucial moment, still others demanding to know if it was real, if it was staged, if what they witnessed actually happened or was some kind of elaborate performance art. But the fighters themselves know the truth. In that ring, under those lights, with 300 witnesses holding their breath, Bruce Lee proved that David can defeat Goliath, not through divine intervention, but through perfect understanding of leverage, timing, and the hidden vulnerabilities that exist in every structure, no matter how powerful it appears. Bruce Lee walks to the corner where the white towel has fallen, picks it up, and drapes it over his shoulder. He leaves the ring without fanfare, without interviews, without stopping to explain what just happened to the crowd of reporters who weren't supposed to be there, but somehow found their way in. Muhammad Ali remains in the ring longer, talking quietly with Morrison, with his trainer, with the handful of people brave enough to approach him in the aftermath of the impossible. When asked what happened, he gives the same answer he'll give for the rest of his life. "Bruce Lee hit me. I didn't see it coming. I didn't feel it until it was over, and then I couldn't breathe. That little man has something real, something beyond what boxing teaches." The story spreads, but carefully. This wasn't a sanctioned event. No official records exist. No photographs were allowed. No film was shot. All that remains are the memories of 300 witnesses and the knowledge that on February 12, 1972, in downtown Los Angeles, the impossible became reality for exactly 13 seconds. The drive home for Bruce is silent, contemplative. Linda is waiting when he arrives, sitting at their kitchen table with tea growing cold in front of her. She doesn't ask what happened. She can see it in his face. Not triumph, not satisfaction, but the deep weariness that comes after profound transformation. "It's done," he says simply. And Ali is a good man, a great fighter. He believed what he needed to believe to become what he became. Tonight, he learned that there are other ways to be strong. Linda nods, understanding. "And you?" Bruce sits across from her, accepts the cup of tea she pours. "I proved something I didn't want to prove. That size and strength and reputation mean nothing if you understand structure and timing. But proving it doesn't bring joy. Regrets? No, but understanding." Ali challenged me because he needed to know if his way was the only way. Now he knows. And so do 300 other people who will tell this story for the rest of their lives, whether anyone believes them or not. Meanwhile, across town, Muhammad Ali sits in his hotel room, still processing what happened to his body. His trainer has checked him over, pronounced him physically fine, but his mind is wrestling with questions that boxing has no answers for. He calls his wife, Belinda, back in Chicago. "How did it go?" she asks. "It went," he says, and then falls silent for so long that she asks if he's still there. "Muhammad, what happened?" "I learned something tonight, Belinda. I learned that everything I thought I knew about fighting, about strength, about what makes a warrior, there's more. There's always more." Over the following weeks, the story spreads through the martial arts and boxing communities like wildfire. Details change with each telling. The strike becomes a series of strikes. The 13 seconds become 3 seconds, then 30 seconds. Bruce's weight drops to 120 pounds. Ali's increases to 220. But the core truth remains unchanged in every version. Muhammad Ali challenged Bruce Lee to hit him, believing his superior size and conditioning would render any martial arts technique ineffective. Bruce Lee accepted the challenge and, with a single strike, proved that perfect technique can overcome any physical advantage. The boxing establishment largely dismisses the story. Impossible, they say. Staged, they claim. If it really happened, where's the film? Where are the official records? Where's the proof beyond the word of witnesses who might have been drunk, might have been confused, might have been seeing what they wanted to see? But the martial arts community embraces it as validation of everything they believe about the superiority of technique over brute force. Bruce Lee becomes more than just a martial artist or an actor. He becomes proof that the ancient ways, properly understood and applied, can overcome any modern challenge. Years later, after Ali's retirement, after his struggles with Parkinson's disease, after his transformation from controversial figure to beloved icon, he still speaks carefully about that night in 1972. In private conversations, away from microphones and cameras, he tells a different story than the public dismissals. "People ask me who hit me the hardest," he says to close friends. "They expect me to say Foreman, or Frazier, or Liston, but the hardest I was ever hit was by a 135-pound Chinese man who didn't wind up, didn't follow through, and didn't try to knock me out. He just touched me, and my body forgot how to work." Bruce Lee, for his part, rarely discusses the encounter. When pressed by students or journalists, he deflects with philosophy. "The purpose of fighting isn't to prove superiority," he says. "It's to understand truth. Ali and I both learned truth that night. The rest is just storytelling." But sometimes, in quiet moments with Linda, he reflects on what the encounter really meant. "I didn't defeat Muhammad Ali," he says. "I defeated the idea that power only comes from size and strength. Ali was never my opponent. Ignorance was my opponent. Fear was my opponent. The belief that there's only one way to be strong was my opponent. And now Ali knows what I know. There are many ways to be water, many ways to be powerful, many ways to be a warrior. The strongest man isn't the one who defeats everyone else. The strongest man is the one who helps others discover their own strength." The white towel, our dagger, becomes part of Bruce's regular training equipment. He uses it to wipe sweat after workouts, to clean his hands after practicing with the wooden dummy, to demonstrate pressure point techniques to advanced students. To most observers, it's just a towel, but to those who know the story, it's something more, a reminder that the impossible becomes possible when perfect preparation meets the right moment. February 12, 1972. 13 seconds. One strike. 300 witnesses. The night David reminded Goliath That size isn't everything. And the night Muhammad Ali learned that true strength sometimes comes in the smallest packages. The legend doesn't end there. It begins there. Because sometimes the most important victories aren't the ones that make you famous. They're the ones that make you wise. And in that arena, on that night, two warriors discovered that wisdom is the only victory that really matters. Today, more than 50 years later, the downtown sports arena has been demolished. The building where the impossible happened exists now, only in the memories of those who were there and the stories they've passed down to their children and grandchildren. Muhammad Ali passed away in 2016, taking with him the first-hand knowledge of what it feels like to be on the receiving end of Bruce Lee's perfect technique. Bruce Lee died in 1973, just 18 months after that February night, his physical body surrendering to mortality, even as his legend transcended into something immortal. But the truth they discovered together, that real strength isn't about domination, it's about understanding, that true power isn't about force, it's about precision, that the greatest warriors are those who help others discover their own capabilities, that truth lives on. In dojos around the world, students still practice the principles Bruce demonstrated that night. In boxing gyms, trainers still tell the story of the night. The greatest heavyweight champion learned humility from a 135-pound martial artist. In the hearts of anyone who has ever felt too small, too weak, too different to matter, the legend grows stronger. Because the real fight that night wasn't between Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee. It was between limitation and possibility, between the world as it appears and the world as it could be, between the prison of what we think we know and the freedom of what we might discover. And in that fight, witnessed by 300 people in a boxing ring in downtown Los Angeles, possibility won immortally. The towel remains, the legend grows, the truth endures. Some victories are measured in rounds, others in decisions, but the victory that matters most is measured in the moment when someone realizes that they're stronger than they ever imagined possible. That moment lasts forever.